Welcome to RLA Virtual Walking Tours. I'm Ken Bernstein with Los Angeles City Planning's Office of Historic Resources. The historic districts that our office helps to preserve are filled with beauty and architectural character, and they also help to create community in our big city. There's a unique, close-knit sense of connection in our historic neighborhoods, and there's rarely been a time when that sense of community is more needed than right now. But during these times of social distancing, we're staying pretty close to home and not getting out and experiencing the historic places that we love around Los Angeles. So we've asked some community leaders from historic districts around the city to bring these places to us through technology, to take us on a virtual walking tour of their neighborhood. And for this installment, we're going to Lafayette Square, a remarkable historic neighborhood tucked away off Crenshaw Boulevard between Venice and Washington Boulevards that became a City Historic Preservation Overlay Zone, or HPOZ, back in 2000.
My name is Tracy Bates, and I'm a resident of Lafayette Square, and I'm an HPOZ board member. We're going to meet up with Lori Hilberg shortly to take you on a walk through our neighborhood, but before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about Lafayette Square. The square, as we call it, was developed in the early 20th century by George L. Crenshaw as one of the premier residential neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Lafayette Square has a rich architectural and cultural history that carries over to today, including a list of prominent owners who were instrumental in contributing to the foundation of Los Angeles. As current residents, we're a close-knit community, which is particularly comforting during these times. Today, Lori and I are going to show you a handful of homes that show the diversity in architecture, and we'll be providing insight about some of the owners and history of the homes here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name is Lori Hilberg. I'm a resident of Lafayette Square and a history buff. I am proud to present what was the Leo Branton Jr. home, also known as the Rosa Parks house. Leo Branton was a civil rights attorney who would go down to the South and help with the civil rights protests in the 50s and 60s. And there he met Rosa Parks, the famous civil rights protester who would not go to the back of the bus. And they became fast friends. The house was built in 1920. It was a Dutch colonial revival style home. It was designed by Montgomery and Nybecker, a prominent architectural firm at the time. When Mr. Branton moved in with his family, he had been here for a few years. He was already a young practicing attorney, and he went on to have many famous clients besides Angela Davis, who was what he is most famous for is freeing Angela Davis from a murder charge when she was accused in the 60s, I believe. After getting her off, he also represented Nat King Cole in a dispute with the homeowner association with the property that he owned in Hancock Park, a short distance away. He represented the Jimi Hendrix estate as well as Mr. Hendrix himself. He represented Dorothy Dandridge and many prominent African American entertainers of the day. He lived here until his death in 2013, and but every winter, Rosa Parks, who had relocated herself to Detroit, would come out here to spend winters with the Branton family, and that's how this house became known as the Rosa Parks house. Thanks for coming.
Welcome to the Henry and Cassie Booz house. They started construction in 1915 and moved in 1916. The house is a Beaux-Arts style, which frankly is mostly used in government buildings, libraries, train stations, and sometimes residences, such as this one. Beaux-Arts is stylized with balustrades, columns, usually garlands, vines, and arched windows, which you see over the door and over the windows. So come on inside. here we have the entryway. Going up the steps, you can see a Palladian window. On the north side, we have the dining room. We have many built-ins. The Booz, Henry Booz was one of the Booz brothers, very instrumental in the success of cafeterias in downtown LA with his three brothers. So we have very high countertops here, which they were used to in their stores. And as you can see, it's been restored with wallpaper and all the mahogany original built-ins. On the south side, we have the living room. It's an original painting above the fireplace, and we have detailed moldings on either side as well as above all the French doors. There is also relief on the ceiling and a small tray plasterwork.
I'm Lauren Smith, and this is my house. The house was built in 1954 by architect Paul Williams. He was the designer of the house and worked with the construction company to put this fabulous place together. This is the property that has been singularly owned by my family, Dr. J. Pyram Taylor and his wife, my grandmother, Pearl Spears Taylor. So it's been in our family since it was built in, completed building in 54. We acquired the land and built the house in a time that was not supposed to be built by a person that looks like me. So the racial covenant, by the time that the house was actually able to be occupied, was lifted in the area, and here we are. So it's a 50s modern house, and I'm really happy to say we have a lot of the same features intact. We've obviously enhanced some over the past 60 plus years that it's been around, but I will take you inside in a few minutes so you can see the kitchen in particular, which is, I think, one of the signs of the real keys of the time, of that atomic era of the 50s. So come on in. Let me open the door. Front door. So, come on in. We'll go right this way to the kitchen. So as you can see, this is the kitchen. We've done some upgrades to it since we've been here for the last some years, but pretty much it stayed intact. The points I think to name are the cabinets are metal, and at that time that was pretty unique. Let's see, I think there's it was made by the Geneva company, which was like the cool company for the 50s. So all of the cabinets are metal, and this is the original color. And the countertops are all original. The stove, as well as the Western Holly stove, are still very, very useful, even though I wish I had a bigger oven sometimes. But it's really great, the broiler on the bottom and the oven at the top. So we can continue to walk through just so that you can see. The house was designed with a layout for pretty much for entertaining. So as you can see, when we came in, we kind of had a flow, and we just continue on here. I'll turn on a few lights so maybe to display a little bit better, but I think one of the themes that Paul Williams had was the lights in the ceiling and the atomic lights everywhere as much as possible. So we've kept a lot of the same stuff. The lights in the game room and the ceiling in here.
Hello, my name is Joe Williams. I am the chairperson of Lafayette Square HPOZ, and I'd like to thank everyone who were involved in this virtual video tour. Thank you again.
Many thanks to Tracy, Lori, the homeowners, and the HPOZ board members for sharing the beauty and history of Lafayette Square with us. If you'd like to take us on a virtual walk of your historic neighborhood, please get in touch to let us know. And we'll see you next time on our LA Virtual Walks.